Okay, so I had some awesome OBE-Vr lucid dreams lately. So, and like I know I had some dreams today, this morning. It's so weird, and like I don't even remember any of them. Well, that's because I went to bed and I don't know, it's like I had insomnia for whatever reason. I don't know if it was from I got attacked by this slight whiff of flower fragrance that somebody had on, and that was Wednesday, but sometimes I have symptoms, for 4 days or delayed. So I don't know if that's why I had insomnia last night, but I did finally fall asleep. But, and I know I had some dreams and I don't even remember them. And it's weird too, like every time I take a nap, like I 8 times out of 10, I never dream or anything. I took a good nap today from like 1:30 to 3 o'clock on the daybed. Like I hate it when I feel like I slept really, like not that real deep, groggy sleep. And like I said, I went to bed last night at 12:30. And I don't know, it's weird. I had insomnia, but yet I did finally fall asleep for many, many, many hours. I mean, I woke up. Yeah, that's the thing. It was the symptoms from Wednesday. It was, because I get delayed symptoms 4 days later or whatever. And I always wake up like every 2 hours. But this time I woke up at the 2 hour mark. And then I conked back out for the rest of the morning till like 9 o'clock or whatever. But I didn't sleep that real groggy ass, low blood sugar sleep. Because that's how I love to sleep. Because that's when I get my best experiences or whatever. But when I took a nap, I did sleep real groggy like that. From 1:30 to 3 o'clock on the daybed. But, and I didn't even dream anything. Well, maybe I did. Maybe I just don't remember. But yeah, so, well, I'll just talk about this one first. Because I was telling Joel, my reptilian buddy, my supreme being, he's my supreme being. But every time I say, like, being, people that aren't into aliens and stuff, they're like, it sounds like you're saying beans, B-E-A-N-S. That's kind of funny. But yeah, so anyway, so I've been flying these drones or whatever, and sometimes I'll go to my workplace and there's like a green belt right there, like woods or whatever. And so then when I like came back home, I'm thinking like, I know you're probably gonna give me a drone dream. Sure enough, that next morning I had a drone dream, and it was like virtual reality. And so basically, and I think it was probably Joel that gave it to me. So well, since I was talking to him, I'll pretend like he gave it to me. I think he pretty much gives me 90-something% of my experiences. So so sure enough, I was like walking around the green belt, back there, and I lost my drone in the trees and crap. Well, actually, no, I didn't lose it in the trees. Actually, there was a big, huge fence. There wasn't residential houses. I think it was like mainly like businesses back there, but there was like a big, fence, a big tall fence separating, that green belt right there in the back of. In real life, there's residential houses, but in this scenario, it was like businesses and stuff that were back there, separated by that big old like tall wood fence. Like, I don't know, it's probably 8 feet tall wood fence. And then there was all the green belt. And I was walking around, this was like all virtual reality, I was walking around the green belt up and down, trying to find my drone. Because I knew it had probably gone over that fence. Well, I wasn't sure. I had a feeling it went over that fence. But I wasn't sure if it also maybe got stuck in the trees. But the funny thing is, at first, there wasn't, there was no, there was still, the impression was that there were still businesses over on the other side of the fence. But where the green belt was and stuff, there was no businesses or anything, on that side of the fence. It was just all green belt, all woods and stuff. And then, so I started walking around looking for my drone. And then all of a sudden, I see all of these businesses, like restaurants and stuff. And then I start walking into a restaurant, and I start walking through the restaurant, looking for my drone. And I had no desire to eat or anything. I just went in there looking for my drone. Out the windows, because all in the back of the restaurant, there was nothing but big, huge windows. And it was packed full of people. And so I just kept walking through there, and I was thinking, these people are going to know that I'm not, there to eat or whatever. But anyway, so I started walking through the building, because all of a sudden all these like restaurants started to appear. And then one of the big restaurants, I walked in there, and like I say, over to the left was all these big, huge windows. So then I started looking out the windows, and looking like across the fence and in the trees and stuff, and it was hilarious. But I haven't lost a drone yet, but I've already fucked up 2 of them. Well, the first one I took back because it was under warranty, but I tore the shit out of it, but they still gave me credit. The second one was total piece of shit, because and that thing was not worth $48. That thing is worth about $25. And it was super easy to fly and everything, but already it won't lift off. One of the motors obviously blew up or something. So I'm going to try to find it. I'm not going to get that brand ever again, I don't think. Snaptune or whatever, I'm not going to get that brand anymore. But I got another Bugs 3 drone, and that one's a freaking blast, man. But it's hard to learn how to fly it. But I already pretty much got the hang of it. And the first time I crashed it, I don't think it was the same after that. And then I just kept tearing it up after that. So then I took it back, and then I got a new one. So once I fly around the new one, I'll be able to tell. I'll be able to know that if that other one was malfunctioning, which I think it was, because after that first big bang onto the asphalt. Because I don't know, because like I tried to like when I go down real fast, and then I try to go back up, like it won't go back up. It just, like, it doesn't have enough gas to go back up. It just bangs into the ground. But I think it was malfunctioning. But yeah, the other one today, that other piece of crap one, that was also $48. And it's like, well, wow, there's like no comparison between the Bugs 3 drone and that the Snaptune, the AH-15 or whatever. No comparison whatsoever, and they both were like $48. That Bugs 3 drone, man, is the freaking bomb. And but I'm gonna put my GoPro on top. But I still don't know if I could trust ever, going over water with it. Like, I don't know. I probably just gotta practice a little more. But yeah, so because that's what I want to do. I want to look at turtles, when they're basking over there. But so far I haven't succeeded taking a drone over the water. But like I say, these are like piece of shit drones. You probably got to get one of those that's at least $150 or $200, and I might get one of those. But and 2, of course, the app doesn't even hardly work, in that Snaptune one. It always malfunctions. A weak signal. And then when I shot video, it freaking videoed upside down. But I mean, what do you expect out of $48? But yeah. So anyway, so in the scenario, I mean, and I was in the scenario, for several hours, walking around looking for my drone, and then all of a sudden, all these businesses appear right there along the green belt or whatever. And then I go inside the restaurant looking for my drone, and peeping out the windows and stuff, the big windows, while all these other people were sitting down at tables eating. But so yeah, but like I say, I just flew my drone that night or whatever, and then I came back home, and I was like, I bet you I'm probably gonna get like a drone, lucid dream soon. And I was kind of talking to Joel. Sure enough, I got me this drone scenario. So that was kind of funny. Oh, and then the same day, or the same morning, this is funny. I was walking around the Goodwill store, and it was, oh my god, totally like different in the scenario. I mean, totally different store in the scenario. It didn't feel nothing like in real life or whatever. I mean, you know, it felt like a different dimension, but you know, the setup and stuff was nothing like any Goodwill store that I've ever like been in real life or whatever. But anyway, so I was walking around the Goodwill store in this OBE-Vr Lucid Dream, and this was hilarious. And like I say, I was in this scenario probably a good 2 hours. Say, what's up, Simba? Yeah, so then I started trying. Oh, yeah, this was cool. I tried on this like white pair of pants, and they were like so spiffy looking. And then I had this like, I tried on this like, I don't know, it was like, I can't remember the color. I think it was pink or something. And these spiffy like pink silky shirt, and I was like, wow, this is just so beautiful. So I was gonna buy, you know, both of those and everything. And then I tried on this pair of like leather Puma. Oh, well, the reason why, well, I don't know who gave me this experience, but the reason why, Joel probably gave it to me. So anyway, the reason why he put the Puma shoes in there was because my dad came over and mowed my yard, and he had the tennis shoes on, and I didn't know he had a pair of Pumas or whatever. So in the scenario, there were these like, and they were like brand new looking too. I mean, they were used, but they were brand new looking. And they were like Pumas, and they were leather, and they looked so good with that outfit, the white pants and the pink shirt. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm just gonna like leave them on and, you know, lift them or whatever, and then I just throw my other old shoes and just leave them there, you know, at the Goodwill store. So basically, that was my intention, was to steal the shoes. So that's kind of funny, but Joel's given me experiences like that lots of times where I steal shit. But it's so weird, like in the scenario, like I don't know how they do it, like when they you know, they make everything so much more beautiful, you know, like the white pants and the pink shirt and everything, and the shoes, it was all just so beautiful. And I don't know how they do it, because you don't feel those kind of feelings in this dimension, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that was like a funny experience. And there was some people that I interacted with, some females that I interacted with and saw standing around, you know, shopping too and everything. But anyway, so that was my intention, was to steal the shoes at the Goodwill store. Okay, so then I had this other, well, I'm getting to the real good one that I had, which was Total Blast. Which was, you know, big, long, drawn-out scenario, very memorable from beginning, middle, to the end. Okay, so anyway, MDC Turtle. Okay, well, this other experience I had that morning, a couple days ago, these were all like a few days ago or whatever. I think Friday and Thursday, I think. But, so the other scenario, well, it wasn't really a scenario, it was kind of like, it wasn't really a dream either. It was just, I don't know, it was like right before I fell back, it was like I had the experience, I think it was right before I fell back to sleep, like that, you know, like when you're kind of semi-awake and semi-asleep. So it's like I was still in bed or whatever, but well, let's see, I can't remember, I must have had the phone in the bed or something, and I called the Missouri Department, this is funny, I called the Missouri, and this is all under altered state, I called the Missouri Department of Conservation, and a woman picked up, and she was like, oh, so I was about to talk about this turtle that I just saw. Yeah, that was like Saturday morning. This experience was Saturday morning, because Friday I had went and I saw that turtle basking, and man, you'd think it would have been Melina, because I let her go right there. But it definitely wasn't Melina or Maria, and I could tell that by the binoculars. And, you know, by the neck, when the turtle was stretching its neck out right there at the pond. This was in real life on Friday. there was just one turtle basking right there in the east part of the pond. And when it was when it was stretching its neck out and everything, I could totally tell that wasn't the shape or anything of Maria or Melina. But I was hoping it was going to be Melina, since I just let her go in September. You know, but and two, it was a little bit smaller than Maria and Melina. And but anyway, even by the binoculars, when I was kind of far away, I could tell there was a big chunk of shell. Maybe when it was hatched out, maybe the shell got damaged and so it just grew like that. But there was a big hunk of shell off the back of its shell. I mean, it's fine and everything. It was just a big, like, 4-inch by 1 inch. I don't know, 4-inch. I don't know, 3-inch by 1 inch shell. I don't know how it got off like that, but it wasn't injured or anything. It just somehow, sometimes, you know, when they're hatching out or whatever, if the shell becomes damaged or whatever, then it's just going to grow like that. But there was a big, like, chunk of it that was the right part of the back shell. There was a chunk of it that was off. That was, you know, but like I say, it probably just, and it looked like an old turtle too. But anyway, the little feller, it let me get like 5 feet away. I just kept walking closer and closer to it and kept staring at it with my binoculars. And finally I got about 5 feet away and it jumped into the water, but it wasn't scared of me at all. But yeah, that sucks, because I was just hoping that would be Melina. But so yeah, so I went to see that turtle on Friday because it just happened to be there at the pond or whatever. And then Saturday morning, I had this this weird, well, I don't know, it wasn't really a dream. I don't know what to call it. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, so I called the Missouri Department of Conservation, and the woman conservationist picked up, and I was trying to tell her about a turtle, and she's like, "Oh, so you need to see a grief, you need to talk to a grief counselor," and she's like, "Well, hold on," and then she's gonna go get the grief counselor, and I'm thinking, that's not what I wanted or whatever. Was, you know, because the turtle wasn't dead or anything. And then what was I gonna say? A few more. Okay, and then it was just hilarious. And then and then what was it? Oh yeah. And then she came back to the phone, and then she's like, well, because at first I guess she's like, is it dead or is it injured? And then she's like, well, hold on. And I'm like, the turtle wasn't dead, it wasn't injured, I don't need a grief counselor, you know what I mean? But it was just kind of hilarious. She just kept jumping to all these conclusions and shit. It was hilarious. And but why I called her, let's see, why did I, shit, how can I forget that part? Well, anyway, so but I can't remember why the hell did I call to begin with. Oh, I think the reason why I called was just to tell them that I saw a turtle that had a big, you know, hunk of shell, which is kind of stupid, you know, because you wouldn't really call them for that. I was just going to tell them about a turtle that I saw, you know, with a big hunk of shell missing. I mean, just, you know, the back part that overlaps or whatever, their booty or whatever. You know, it's like I was going to call them to tell them that, and she kept jumping to all these conclusions. It was hilarious. She immediately thought I needed a grief counselor, and I'm thinking, okay, it's not dead. And then she thought maybe it was injured, and I'm like, no, it's not injured either. But anyway, that was kind of hilarious. Yeah, Joel just went into my brain because he knows that I've emailed them before in real life or whatever, talking about turtles. So he gave me this funny experience. Well, like I say, I'm assuming he gave it to me. I'm not sure, but I do believe he's given me all these getting laid experiences, and I've gotten laid now like 7 times in like 14 days. And but that other experience I talked about where I was in that person's mansion and I got laid and everything by that person, and I mentioned how when after we had romance and everything, and then we went out to eat. Well, after we ate our ice cream and everything, and then we went to dinner and went out to eat, and then when the chef, the male chef, came over there and placed a pot pie down, what I was gonna mention was that, which is probably Joel that gave me this experience. He went into my brain like 20-something years ago because you know, I do remember, you know, eating at Cheddar's, and I ordered that pot pie, and that was like 20-something years ago. So that's why he put that in the scenario, that pot pie. So that was kind of hilarious that he went back that far and read my brain and picked out the pot pie, because in the scenario, you know, the chef gave me the pot pie. Apparently I ordered the pot pie, and then we were gonna pick out on other stuff after that. But that was kind of funny. Okay, so anyway, I actually got laid one other time too, all after those 5 or 6 times, just a few days ago. But the other 2 experiences, well, most of them are they're like way too personal. But I could say one thing though, like well, at first it was, well, actually that last time, I'm not sure what that person's name was. I think I mentioned all the initials or whatever, the 5 initials in that other video, but then I got laid 2 more times. And then the initial was T, and then the second time, I don't even know what that person's name was or whatever. But the first person, T, you know, I was at their house, and like the sister, the younger sister, was living with the person, and she was walking around the house. And at one time, I had to go brush my teeth and stuff in the bathroom, and this bathroom was huge, and it was kind of funny. So the whole scenario was, you know, we had romance and everything, and then I went to brush my teeth or whatever, or maybe that was before. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But anyway, it lasted a long time, like several hours or whatever. But what was really awkward was the door. I was trying to like close the door, and up at the right hand side, it was just odd. It was like these big sticks, and I was just trying to like move the stick over into the little slots, you know, to lock the door. And the bathroom was huge, and it was just odd, man. It was up at it was the upper right hand side, you know, of the door, and it was just very odd. And but there was another piece in there. It's kind of hilarious. when we were having romance and stuff, I was like, wow. Your skin is so baby butt soft. It's so soft. And I was like, just wow, it's so baby butt soft, you know. And it was like the softest skin. And the funny thing is, and I didn't think it was funny, I didn't think it was odd in the scenario, but after I woke up and everything, I think of how odd it kind of was, because the color of the skin was kind of light grayish. You know, it wasn't like, it should have been like grayish. It should have been like pink, you know, white pink, whitish pinkish, like a white person. But it was like grayish. It was like kind of light grayish to like medium grayish. So that was kind of weird. But in the scenario, it didn't seem odd or anything. But it was fun too. I can't say anymore because it's too personal. But yeah. And then I got laid again, and that one was just kind of, well, you know, it was just kind of like even a little less a little less sexual than all the other ones, but it was still kind of sexual. But and that was just like by a person that I've seen before, but I have no idea what the name was. But yeah, okay, now here's where the good scenario starts. And it wasn't sexual or anything, but I love these kind of scenarios. Okay, let's see here. 26 minutes. Okay. Okay, so I was asking Joel to either give me another getting laid scenario or to take me to a mansion again, because I hadn't had a mansion scenario in a while. I told him, it has been a long time since you have given me a mansion scenario. Deep down, he knew I wanted another mansion scenario, and that is what he gave me this morning, which was a couple mornings ago. Especially after getting laid, 5 times in 2 weeks, he knew I wanted to change. So deep down, I did want the mansion scenario, since he had already given me like getting laid, 5 times in 5 separate scenarios. So the mansion scenario is what I got, and deep down, he knew that that's what I wanted, was a mansion scenario. Okay, I put it down, May 12th. This was May 12th. So this was 4 days ago. When was that? Thursday? Or Wednesday? Thursday, Friday? Was that Wednesday morning, I guess? Okay, maybe it's Wednesday morning. May 12th. Okay, so this is how it started. This was a very long scenario. Many, like I was in this scenario at least 15 hours. Ow, 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 ow. Probably longer. Yeah, 15 hours, like probably longer. And, okay, so I was walking around this mansion forever for at least 15 hours. At first it was my mansion, and even one part of the scene, when I looked out the big windows to the left, it was the front of my mansion that I bought, in that other scenario that I talked about. It was like in those other couple scenarios I talked about where he's taken me to that same mansion, I had bought it. Is that the one I said that I bought for like $4,000 or something like that? I can't remember, but anyway. But I had actually bought it over there off of East Sunshine. Now this is under altered state. And he's taken me back there, like 2 other times or whatever. So in this scenario, there was, okay, so in this scenario, okay, hold on. At first this mansion was my mansion, and even one part of the scene where I looked out the big windows to the left, that was kind of like at the beginning of the scene, I believe, the beginning of the scenario. It was the front of my mansion that I bought in that other couple of scenarios, where I actually bought it and everything. But this time, when I looked out that door right there, the big door to the left, and the driveway was right there with a lot of parking spaces, this time it had 2. Now, in the other scenarios, I can't remember what I said about what I saw in the parking lot. I can't remember. I'm not sure if I said that I saw cars or whatever. As far as I remember, it was like an empty parking lot in those other 2 scenarios or whatever. But in this scenario, when I looked out, the big door and the windows right there, the big doors, and there was windows to the left and to the right. When I looked out the windows, it had 2 old, it may even have been 1970s, 2 old 1980s hearse that were light brown in the parking spots. And the old owner had left. So the previous owner had left those hearse in the parking lot. Okay, so all the other parts of the mansion was totally different in this scenario as it went on. But it was just that part of the scenario was like those other scenarios I talked about that mansion that I had bought off of East Sunshine Street. That little bit of this mansion was similar. All the other parts of the mansion was totally different in the scenario after that point. Yeah, so all the other parts of the mansion were totally different in the scenario as it went on. The other mansion scenario was off of East Sunshine Street, and the aliens had taken me there at least 3 to 4 times. And it was mine for most of those scenarios. Another time it was like my grandma was even like in there, and it was like her mansion. But the other 2 times it was like my mansion. The other 2 scenarios. But the reason why the aliens put the hearse in there was because I had hearse on the mind, because my friend had died, and they said they were going to take her by hearse down to Mississippi. So that's why they had, or that's why Joel put the hearse in there, and they were, facing, the parking lot the parking spots were facing the front door at both Hearsts. They were separated by one space, but they were facing, the front door and the windows there. And like I say, they were really old looking. They could have been 1970s. Okay, so not long. So like I said, hold on. Yeah, so like I say, at first, the impression was that it was my mansion. Okay, not long after that part of the scene, not long after this scenario started, it ended up being Dawn's mansion, my sister's boyfriend. So all the rest of the scene, the mansion was pretty much Dawn's mansion. But the first few hours under the scenario, it was mine, or perceived to be mine. So the alien Joel just kind of messed up, I guess. And couldn't make up his mind or whatever. Okay, so basically for whatever reason, a group of this is all part of the scenario. Basically for whatever reason, a group of about 8 gay women were visiting me. I guess I had asked them over, but in the scenario, that part wasn't shown. So basically, they were just friends, and I invited them over. Basically, we were walking around this mansion for hours, just gabbing and talking. At one point, I was up on the 2nd or 3rd floor, and I looked out the window. There was like 2 small bedrooms up there. One of them was my bedroom, and there was another bedroom attached. I think Joel was trying to copy off my old house I used to live in. But anyway, where I grew up in. Okay, at one point I was up on the 2nd or 3rd floor, and I looked out the window, and I thought I saw some people or men sort of walk by the tall chain link fence. And I was like, and it was dark outside. I was like, crap, I'm going to be scared sleeping here by myself all night. Which I really wouldn't have been by myself, I don't think. But in that part of the mansion, I would have been by myself. Because it was, kind of secluded. This mansion was freaking huge, man. It was fucking huge. I mean, huge. Okay, so anyway, I was like, crap, I'm going to be scared sleeping here by myself at night. All night, I mean. Then I looked closer and closer, like with my extra bionic eyes or whatever. And it was 3 raccoons staring at me and walking on the top of the fence. But at first, like I say, I thought it was like prowlers, but it was raccoons. And the reason why Joe put that in here was because I just recently saw a couple raccoons at 5 o'clock in the morning when I got up a couple weeks ago. They were eating the bird food. So that's why Joe put the raccoons in the scenario. And I did just recently look out the window in real life at 5 a.m. and I saw raccoons eating my birdseed in 3D. Another part of the scenario, we looked into a ballroom as I started. So after that part, I started walking around the mansion again with my buddies. And so the second scene, second or third scene or whatever, we started walking around. And we looked into a ballroom, and there were tons of women dancing around, men and women, in this ballroom. And that was like, I don't know, third or fourth scene or whatever, ever. But yeah, this scenario lasted so long, it was fun. But yeah, so we looked into this, into this room, and it was a freaking ballroom, and tons of people were dancing around. Okay, and then another part of the scene, I had walked from, let's say, south end of the mansion, all the way to the north end of the mansion. In the middle, I was in the middle of the mansion, for whatever reason. I think I was being nosy, so I started walking around by myself, without my friends with me. And as far as I remember, like I say, I was just being nosy. And I was snooping around, basically. And, okay, hold on. For whatever reason, I think to the north end of the mansion. Okay, so anyway, as I was walking through the mansion in the middle, I counted at least 5 to 7 huge kitchens to the right, with the dining rooms on the left. So I was just like walking along, I was thinking to myself, why would Dawn need all these kitchens and dining rooms? They were pretty lavish too. It was fancy kitchens and dining rooms. It wasn't like builder's grade, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was a trip, man. I just kept walking, And I kept like walking down the mansion and looking over to my right and seeing this big old kitchen. And then I'd look over to the left and see the dining room. And then I counted like at least 5 to 7 freaking kitchens and dining rooms. Okay, so then I was back at all the gay women. So then I was back with all the gay women gabbing and talking forever, and they started concocting and saying how they wanted to go to a bar that was like 1.5 to 2 hours away. And the scenario I was in my hometown. So I knew that whatever club they wanted to go to was definitely in some smaller town, far from here. You know, because, you know, if they're saying they had to travel 1.5 to 2 hours, I knew that was probably going to be in some small town or something. So anyway, I had no desire to go since I knew I wasn't a slave matrix person, and I knew that they were, so that they could just basically knock themselves out, but I wasn't about to go. Okay, so then we all started drinking some beer. I even tasted it, and it tasted very sugary and sweet. It tasted good under my scenario. I was telling some of the women that, wow, I can still taste all the sugars in here. One of the women had dark, long-haired and plump, and some of the other women were man-looking with short, light brown hair. Joel did put some people in the scenario that I knew from 20 plus years ago. At least three of the people were familiar-looking, but I cannot remember their names. One of the names was Linda in real life. I can't remember the other 2 names. But 3 people were familiar. And anyway, so I started drinking this beer, and it just tasted like, I could taste it. It was very sweet. It tasted like sugar. And in the scenario, Joel started to make her look, in the scenario, Joel tried to make her look how I remember. That one woman that I said her name was Linda, in the scenario, Joel, had made her look how I remember, so she looked like, what I remember from 30 years ago or whatever. Okay, so the dark-haired woman was like, well, there really isn't any sugar in the beer. And I said there is natural sugar in all food, and that even when I eat a white potato, I can taste highly sweet parts of the white potato that taste like sugar. In real life, there's no way I could drink beer, but in the scenario, and this is all funny that Joel was picking from my brain because he remembers me eating a white potato, and I could you could taste some really sweet parts of the white potato. To me, it tastes like sugar almost, because I don't eat any kind of sugar, so when I eat stuff like blueberries and white potatoes, all of that stuff tastes highly sweet to me, and watermelon and stuff. But anyway, so that was kind of funny because it's almost like she was kind of arguing with me, saying that there's no sugar in the beer or whatever. But I could taste it and everything. It was really cool. Okay, so we kept talking more and more for hours and hours about what bar they wanted to go to. I was waiting for them to leave because I wanted to go to bed. They never seemed to leave. Also, it appeared that at least one woman spent the night in my bedroom area the night before this day. Because after I went to my bedroom and I looked into my drawer, I saw wads, which like I say, this part doesn't, it doesn't make sense because, like I say, well, apparently, certain parts of the mansion were my mansion, I guess, but it was mainly Dawn's mansion. So anyway, because after I went to my bedroom and looked in my drawer, I saw wads of money, and I was like, crap, I shouldn't have left that in there. And I was afraid that one woman, may have stolen some of it. I wanted to go count it after they left, but they would never leave. Because like I say, if this really wasn't my mansion, I shouldn't have been having those 2 bedrooms that were sort of like mine. And so it was like it was Dawn's mansion, but yet I had these living quarters that was kind of like mine in the mansion. That's kind of like how it was, yeah, basically, but Joel didn't actually really program me to know that, oh, it's living quarters, you know what I'm saying? But in a way, that's kind of like what it was. Okay, so I wanted to go count it after they left, but they would never leave. When they were downstairs and I went back to my room and looked in the drawer, it just sort of looked like some of it could have been stolen, and there were less wads of money. I knew that woman had stayed in that part of my bedroom that night before. Then eventually they were about to leave but never did. I was like, I'm hungry and maybe we should order dinner. I was talking to the women as we were talking, standing around, walking around. They were standing around, and eventually I said, "Hey, I'm hungry, and maybe we should order dinner." Then the butcher woman was like, "We already did, and I ordered pizza, and we ate it. We already ate." I couldn't believe they ate without me. Then I saw a full, large pepperoni pizza from Domino's or Pizza Hut. It was either from Domino's or Pizza Hut, sitting there in the box, and it was a large pepperoni. I saw the pepperoni all hard and crinkled up, and I knew I could pig out on it once they left. It was cold, but I knew I could heat it up. Like, I knew that it was like cold and had been sitting there for a long time. And this was like in a very large box. This was a full-on large pepperoni pizza. And like I say, it was either from Pizza Hut or Domino's. I think Pizza Hut, as far as I remember. That's what Joe programmed me to know. And I think it was Pizza Hut. And I saw all the pepperonis all crinkled up and old and cold, but I knew I could heat it up, after they left and everything. Then we talked more and more, and eventually, walked around a little bit, the mansion or whatever. We talked more and more, and eventually they were almost ready to leave. And I told one of them, "You really need to give me your phone number in case you don't come back in a timely fashion." I kept walking up to most of the women, and there were a couple men too, and nobody would give me their phone number, it seemed. Then one of the men said, "In California, the bars don't close till 8 a.m. in the morning." And one of the women said, "Here, in my town," basically, we were in my town in the scenario, "here they close at 5 a.m. Then we started talking more and more as well, as we all waited and waited. At one point, a woman mentioned something about shapeshifters and how a physical man could appear, but that maybe it was really an alien. And then I started thinking, wow, I just saw that one dark-headed man standing over there forever. Now, this was when we were all standing around, and there were a bunch of other strangers standing around too. And I remember seeing a dark-colored man standing over there, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared. And then I started thinking, oh wait, hold on. And how a physical man could appear, but that maybe it was really an alien. And then I started thinking, wow, and this is all under the scenario. I started thinking, wow, I just saw that one dark-headed man standing over there forever, but now he's gone. And for whatever reason, I knew that that had to have been Joel, and Joel was sort of talking to, in this scenario, I knew that for whatever reason it was Joel, and that Joel was sort of talking to me under the scenario. And I told myself while under the scenario that, wow, I needed to pay better attention pertaining to this back when I'm in 3D. But now I realize it's not really, that relevant, because I don't really go to a lot of places or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But in the scenario, I was like, wow, I knew I was dreaming and everything under the scenario. I knew I was in an altered state. So in the scenario, when we started talking about all the shape-shifting stuff, I knew once I got out of the scenario back in 3D that was something more I needed to pay attention to. So that was kind of funny. And even when I was under the scenario, I knew Joel was kind of talking to me, and posing as that dark-headed man. In the scenario, Joe was posing as that guy on the... okay. In the scenario, Joel, he kind of looked like that guy on the V, and I'll show you a picture of him. In the scenario, Joel was posing as that guy on the V. When that short, dark-headed man that I just told you that I saw in the scenario. Because I knew that when I watched it, that he actually looked... Oh, wait, hold on. Needed to pay... Yeah, so in the scenario, when I saw that dark-colored, dark-haired guy, it kind of looked like that guy in the V. And so, in the scenario, I totally knew that Joel was posing as that guy, but it was really Joel. And Joel knows that after I watched the V, he knew that I started to think, wow, this guy looks more like... oh no, wait, sorry, I'm getting things wrong. Ugh. Okay, so anyway, that when I watched it, because I knew that when I watched... Okay, because I knew that when I watched it, the V, that he actually looked more like Anthony the alien than any other two people that I had shown. So for whatever reason, Joel, even though I don't believe it was Joel that showed up in physical form those 4 times, that was not Joel. That was a different reptilian. But for whatever reason, Joel decided to pose as him. He knew that I thought that he looked more like Anthony the Alien, that guy on the V, than the other 2 guys that I had shown before. But in the scenario, like I say, Joel just decided to pose as him, even though in real life it wasn't him. It was a different reptilian that showed up those 4 times at Barnes & Noble's back in 2017. But, okay, so then the last part of the scenario, we were all at the south end of the mansion in a big, huge banquet room, but it also had basketball hoops that were folded up. There were tons of men having a banquet party that had something to do with their jobs. There were at least 30 men, maybe even 40 men. And they were all like, the impression was they were all Don's friends. And I was walking around and wanted to pig out on the food. Each table had bowls of like, as I started walking around looking at the round tables, many round tables sitting around, each table had bowls of like salsa and chips and cheese dip as I was walking around. And I used to eat the shit out of that. But I can still eat the shit out of cheese. I just can't eat any chips or salsa. Because I'm allergic now, but I'm not allergic to cheese. But yeah, I just wanted to pig out on it so bad, and it was just so vivid, and it looked so good. Then eventually I was like, I want to shoot hoops after their party is over with. Then the last part of the scenario, then this was the last part of the scenario, or it was a blurb. So I was driving down a road with my mom, and I was the one driving, and I ran up over a curb. The street wasn't familiar. I ran up over the curb and was afraid to get back over into the curb, or over the curb onto the street, since it was kind of steep. And my mom started griping at me. So then I stayed in the parking lot where I had driven over the curb, and I had just driven in that parking lot. Oh wait, yeah. Wait a minute. So then I stayed in the parking lot where I had driven over the curb, and that I had just driven in that parking lot till I saw a smooth ride out of which there was. So I drove out of the parking lot back into the street. There was a clear entryway out and into that parking lot. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know if that was the end of the scenario or if that was just a blurb. But yeah, so the end of the scenario, basically I was driving with my mom, and I was the one driving, and I ran up over the curb and into the parking lot, and I didn't want to run back, over the curb. So I saw an entryway out of the parking lot, so I just bam, went out of, the parking lot smoothly, because there's already an entry and exit way. And I went back into the street that we were originally driving on. There was a clear entryway out and into the parking lot, or out and from the parking lot into back to that street. This scenario was long and exhausting, but I love these types. And yeah, that was a blast. I mean, it was a total freaking blast. And here's this guy that looks more like Anthony the Alien, but in the scenario, Joel just happened to be posing as him in the scenario. But in real life, the guy, other reptilian that posed for me, that showed up for me in physical form 4 times March 2017, he looked more like this guy from the V. Because I said he looked like a couple other people, like Jack Nicholson, and then there was another person. But this is what he more looked like. Not old, but young. More like that when he was younger. This guy, whatever his name is, I forgot. He's older now, but he didn't look, in the scenario he was, in real life when he showed up, he looked like the younger. And I don't know why he decided to show up looking like him, but even him, if you look at him, he kind of looks like Jack Nicholson. Which makes you wonder, because there's all these, people say clones and shit, and there's a lot of Hollywood people that look like other people, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's what he kind of looked more like. Except when he showed up like the 3rd and 4th time, his hair had grown long. It was really weird. And so that's what Anthony the Alien kind of looked like when he showed up 4 times in physical form back in 2017. And I think I said everything. Oh, and his name, I thought I wrote it down. His name is Michael Ironside. I gotta watch that other V. I watched one of the series, but I need to watch more. But see, he's old now, but that's not. Anthony the Alien showed up as a younger guy, like about 51 or 52 maybe. Anyway, thanks for listening. But yeah, that experience was fun, man. And it was fun. But all the sexual scenarios are fun too. My sexual scenarios that Joel gives me. Or where he concocts these, what do you call it? These romance scenarios for me, like soap opera romance scenarios. They're a blast, man.